Alright, gather around folks, because Uncle 3 is back for our 25th night here on the Asian Ghost Stories channel. Now, before we dive into today's tale, let me just set the mood with something truly bizarre from ancient China. It's not a ghost story, but it sure is creepy in its own right. We are talking about a traditional handicraft, a jewelry making technique called Dian Kui Wan Gong, or in plain English, kingfisher feather inlay with 10,000 craftings. The most perfectly preserved example of this art, made from precious wood, copper wire, kingfisher feathers, and glass, is actually on display right there in New York at the American Museum of Natural History. It's a wedding sedan, the kind used by a wealthy family during the early 20th century Qing dynasty in China's Shandong province. But here's where the darkness comes in. The cruelty of this craft lies in how they got those beautiful feathers. Artisans would take the iridescent feathers from kingfishers, those birds with short tails, blue backs, orange bellies, and long beaks, and weave them into intricate jewelry like hairpins and headwear, often combined with gold, silver, and pearls. And get this, kingfishers are now on China's endangered species list. Each kingfisher only gives up about 28 of its most beautiful feathers. Can you imagine? To create just one of those wedding sedans, they needed the feathers from tens of thousands of these birds. And the truly barbaric part, the artisans had to cut the feathers while the birds were still alive meticulously. Why? Because if the birds were sick or dying, their feathers would instantly lose that vibrant, shimmering color. Just imagine the suffering. And the sedan itself? The name Wan Gong means 10,000 craftings, or 10,000 days of work. That's right. It took a staggering 10,000 workdays to complete that one sedan, which is about 27 years. This wasn't just any old sedan. It was incredibly elaborate and labor-intensive, so much so that it required 8 people to carry it. In ancient China, an 8-bearer sedan was a symbol of the elite, only for the families of high officials, kings, and emperors. I'm sharing this little historical tidbit so you can grasp the sheer brutality of ancient times. It sets the stage for today's story, which dives into the equally dark and mysterious world of ancient Chinese spiritual practices and charms. And yes, it involves another bird. This story, folks, came straight from the mouths of some old Laotian veterans I once had the honor of chatting with. Picture this. It was the time when the Pathet Lao forces had just seized power. The Laotian army was moving into all the liberated regions, bringing order, managing things, and trying to secure peace for the people. Now, one of these veterans, along with his comrades, was stationed in Zhengqiang province, tasked with keeping the peace and doing their duty. When a new country is finding its footing, there's always trouble brewing, no matter if there's war or not. You've got good folks and you've got bad apples. So, right after the liberation, a lot of shady characters, thieves, criminals, folks causing trouble for society, were trying to exploit the chaos. These veterans, they were the ones rounding them up and making sure Zhengqiang stayed safe. One day, a strange case popped up in Zhengqiang. It involved a man from a Laotian ethnic minority, someone who lived deep in the forest, not in a village, in a small house he'd built himself. The whole thing started when some villagers went into the forest to chop wood near his house. As they got close, they caught a whiff of something awful, a foul smell wafting out. Immediately, they suspected something was wrong, maybe a dead body inside that wooden house, and they indeed suspected the man himself. So, they rushed to report it to the veterans. When the veterans arrived, they tried to get into the house, but it was impossible. The door wouldn't budge, and there were no windows to be found anywhere. They even asked the local villagers how to open the place on earth, but everyone said there was no way. The owner was a real enigma, it seemed, wanting to hide something so badly that it built his house completely sealed up, impossibly high, and utterly private. You couldn't just open it. Your only option was to drill a hole in it to squeeze inside. Or as one of them suggested, blow it up with a small bomb. But the veterans knew that if they did that, every single piece of evidence inside that house would be utterly destroyed. Wooden splinters, debris, anything connected to the crime scene would be lost. So, they were ordered to wait for instructions from their superiors. They couldn't just smash their way in. The Laotian Liberation Army had a policy at the time. They needed to connect with the local ethnic communities to understand their religions and cultures truly. And that's how, through talking with the villagers, they heard an unbelievable story. The man, they were told, had been murdered, and his killer was someone who knew an ancient Chinese sorcery, a charm called Wuji Fungfu. Now, if you break down those words, Wushi means no beginning, suggesting something indefinite or endless. Feng means unseal, open seal, or remove seal. And Fu means charm, sign, or talisman. So put it all together, and it could metaphorically mean endless unsealing charm, or a never-ending opening charm. This charm was said to be truly special. To make it, you had to recite a specific Chinese verse. When translated into English, those words instructed you to take the blood of a woodpecker, mix it with cinnabar, a red mineral, and then draw the charm. Instantly, the door would open. The soldiers, those battle-hardened veterans, didn't buy it for a second. It sounded like a wild, impossible story. However, this was a case involving the local ethnic minorities, so they had to be careful and respect the local way of doing things. They couldn't just barge in with force. Doing so would completely shatter the trust of the people. So, what did they do? They invited a local sorcerer, a kind of shaman or witch doctor from the ethnic community to come down and work his magic. When the sorcerer arrived at the scene, he did exactly as the story said. He caught a woodpecker, took its blood, and mixed it with cinnabar ink. Then, he knelt down and drew something on the ground right in front of the wooden stilt house door. And then, folks, right before the eyes of those veterans, a memory that's still etched in their minds to this very day. The door, which had been stubbornly shut for so long, slowly, mysteriously, opened all by itself. Inside, just as they suspected, they found the dead body of the house's owner. Of course, the killer was long gone. The crime had happened at least 7 days prior, and no one ever found out who did it. But through that eerie case, the veterans came to understand something profound. That there truly is such a thing as this strange charm, the Wuji Fungfu. After they wrapped up the case, they went back to the city and actually researched this charm further. That's how they learned its incredible origin. You see, ancient Chinese woodcutters, deep in the forest, once stumbled upon a truly unique behavior of the woodpecker. These birds are incredible. When they make a nest, they pick trees with hollow interiors. They use their tough short beaks along with their super long tongues, which are covered in a sticky goo and can catch anywhere from 15 to a whopping 150 ants at once. They peck out a hole and crawl inside to build their nest. But here's the kicker. When they fly out, they don't just leave the hole open. No, they actually automatically return and stuff the hole back up with pieces of wood. They make the surface perfectly flat so no one can see the nest and no other bird or animal can get in. And when the woodpecker comes back to its nest after a long day of hunting for food, it doesn't just fly straight to the hidden door. Nope. It lands on the ground below, then moves its neck back and forth, writing something on the dirt. After it's done, it flaps its wings with all its might to erase the writing on the ground. And then, just like that, the hidden door to its nest automatically opens. Sounds absolutely unbelievable, doesn't it? Like something out of a fantasy novel. But here's the shocking truth. This story is not fiction. It's actually a documented fact in Chinese history, and even scientists who study woodpeckers confirm this phenomenon. When a female or baby woodpecker is born, the male bird does the exact same thing to get in. It doesn't call out or signal to the others to open the nest. To this day, no one truly understands the principle behind how the woodpecker opens its door. From this incredible observation, the ancient Chinese woodcutters passed down this strange phenomenon to their charm masters. And one of those masters, intrigued, went into the forest himself and watched a woodpecker. He waited patiently until the bird had just finished writing its charm on the ground, but hadn't yet flapped its wings to erase it. In that fleeting moment, he killed the woodpecker. He did it so that he could see what the bird had written. They copied it and researched it, and that's how they created the charm known as Wuji Fungfu, or more simply, the Woodpecker Charm. This charm, incredibly, can be used for both good and evil. For good, people leaving their homes could use it to prevent others from breaking in. Only those who truly understood the secrets of the Woodpecker Charm could open the door. But for the evil, many thieves and robbers knew about this charm. They'd take woodpecker blood, mix it with cinnabar, then write the charm in front of doors to prevent victims from getting back inside, and more importantly, to keep anyone from finding evidence. And that, my friends, is exactly what the killer in our story today did. He used this very charm to murder that ethnic minority man, then locked the door with the woodpecker charm. And just as he intended, no one could figure out how to get inside. If they had smashed the door or blown it up, all the precious evidence would have been destroyed. This is also why, in ancient Asia, many wealthy Chinese people buried their treasures and jewels in tombs, and grave robbers often couldn't find them, or if they got in, they couldn't get back out. So thanks to this wild, strange story, Uncle 3 has revealed yet another fascinating charm, one made from the incredible woodpecker. A truly sophisticated charm, rooted in actual historical accounts and born from the ancient Chinese people's keen observation of the woodpecker's life. It just goes to show you, doesn't it? Our world is full of so many mysterious spiritual tales, things that are just beyond our understanding. All right, that's it for tonight, folks. See you all next time for Night 26, right here on Uncle 3's Asian Ghost Stories channel.